One of the number one questions I have seen Rise of Kingdoms players ask is, what is the best use of your action points in Rise of Kingdoms? And my goal today is to answer that once and for all. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay episode from your very own Shappy Gaming. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Shappy. I am a Rise of Kingdoms content creator sponsored by Lilith. And today we are going to be answering the question of what is the best usage of your action points in Rise of Kingdoms. This has been hotly contested and everyone has a different answer. But I've gone through, I've spent over 100,000 AP on a bunch of different things, and my goal is to show you guys exactly what I found based on my testing results. Now, we're going to break this video into two parts. The first part is going to be Marauders versus KVK Barbarians. The second part is going to be when you get to Home Kingdom, which is the best solution, forts or barbarians? Since they've upped the level of barbarians and forts, this is a really big question that people need to ask. So without further ado, let's jump into that first question of KVK Barbs or Marauders. Now, you guys may remember these two videos. The one on the right was when I went and spent 100,000 AP on KVK Barbarians, and the one on the left is when I spent 100,000 AP on Marauders. And the goal of this was to actually figure out which gave me the best results. Now, at the time, I was a young Shappy. The channel was not where it was today, and I decided let's revisit this and see exactly how accurate everything was. So, without further ado, I took my original chart that I had made, breaking down what I got from Barbarians and what I got from Marauders, and cleaned it up so it's in a much more consumable fashion. Now, the rewards haven't changed for these, and remember, these barbs that we're looking at here are the top tier barbarians that you have within KVK. These are your zone 8, top level barbarians, 50 plus. And this was my results. Now, one thing I want to make sure I call out here, the resources that you're looking at are the resource drops, not the peacekeeping resource rewards. I want to make that very clear because the peacekeeping resource rewards for KVK Barbs and the peacekeeping resource rewards for Marauders are going to be different. You may be like, Chappy, what are you talking about? You are going to get more peacekeeping rewards for Marauders than you are for KVK Barbs. And the reason behind this is that when you kill a barbarian, you get X amount of resources from that barbarian from your peacekeepers. However, the cost of killing a KVK barbarian is much higher than the cost of killing a Marauder. And that's why there's a little bit of a discrepancy in that. I did capture what I got from Marauders, but we don't need to get into that. I wanted to look purely at the resources that we got. And I have to say, for 100,000 AP, we got 53.5 million food, which is pretty good. We also got 54 million wood, 39, just about 40 million stone, and 29 million gold. So from a resource standpoint, we did really well with these KVK barbarians. Now, I also would be remiss if I didn't call out the fact that with KVK barbarians, you're also getting crystal and you're getting honor. And that's something that we really want to make sure we consider as part of this video, because I know maybe you're not always doing it because you just want resources or speed ups. Maybe you're doing it for other reasons. And I want to make sure I take that into account. Now, as a general rule of thumb, if you're ever going to be killing barbarians in Kingsland, there are two best times to be doing it. First is when we have supply. The supply event is huge because it will give you a bunch more speed ups, a bunch more resources just for killing barbs, which you're already planning on doing. The second time that's particularly good for killing barbs in Lost Kingdom is actually going to be during the Ruined Crusader Fortress event number 2, where you get rewards for either rallying forts or killing barbarians. That is another really good time to go ahead and do this. Personally, I prefer supply event, but you choose which makes sense for you. From a speed up standpoint, we did awesomely. 276 hours of 1-minute speed ups, 128 hours of 5-minute training speed ups, 129 hours of universal 1-minute speed ups, which are huge for healing, and 167 hours of 5-minute healing speed ups. That's a lot of speed ups. In total, that came out to just about 29 days for 100,000 AP, which I think is pretty good. And again, it was also huge for honor and got me quite a bit of crystal. Now, one of the things we're not considering really as part of this portion of the video is going to be the healing costs. KVK Barbs deal a lot of damage, a lot more damage than you're going to find Marauders deal, which means there is a cost to all of these resources and speed ups if you end up getting beyond your quick healing capacity within the hospital. So just keep that in mind. Now, the next reason why everyone says KVK Barbs are better is going to be materials. Now, materials are pretty good from KVK Barbs, and maybe they're better from Marauders. We're going to find out. But in total, I got 320 pieces of normal leather, 308 pieces of normal iron, 148 pieces of normal bone, and 413 pieces of ebony. Now, what this tells me is Lilith did make the drop rate for bone lower than everything else. Thank you. But what it also tells me is you do get a fair amount of materials from this expedition. So much so that you may be able to forge something from them, or refine or awaken. But how did this actually compare to Marauders? Because that's the big question here. Let's check. Well, with Marauders, I got 46.5 million food, which is slightly less than I got from Barbs. I got 35 million wood, 30 million stone, and 15 million gold. Now, when we compare this, I got way more resources from KVK Barbs, which totally makes sense to me. And again, this is not including the peacekeeping bonus. The peacekeeping bonus does bring you a little bit closer because it's cheaper to hit the home kingdom Barbs. But to be honest, if you're going for resources, KVK Barbs are the way to go. Now, where things get really spicy, though, is speed ups. And I know, speed ups are iffy. It's touch and go when you're doing Marauders. The chests are not always clear as to what you're going to be getting. I hear you. However, this was my results based on 100,000 AP, which is a lot of chests, and it does average out pretty well, is I got 8.375 days of speed ups from 3 hours, 7 days of speed ups from 8 hours, 5 days of 24-hour speed ups, and 27 days from 3-day speed ups. And you may not have this kind of luck. You might not. But our total count was 47 days of speed ups. Compared to KVK Barbs, this is 17 days more. So even if you don't have my luck, I would expect that you're going to end up with more days of speed ups from Marauders than you would from KVK Barbs. I can almost guarantee it. Now, the big question is materials, right? Which is going to be the best for materials? Is it KVK Barbs or is it Marauders? Everyone knows you get great materials from KVK Barbs, but how does that compare? Well, I did find that I actually got more leather from Marauders. I got slightly less iron, but not a substantially amount. I got exactly the same amount of bone, and I got more ebony, which tells me Marauders were actually just as generous in terms of materials as KVK Barbs, if not better. Again, it does vary and it does depend upon what your drops are, but this whole argument about materials for KVK Barbs tells me maybe it's not that great. Now, I would be remiss without calling out one limitation here. If you're hunting Marauders, you have to 5 March hunt them. You do not have to do that with KVK Barbs. I did for the sake of this video. But if you're chaining KVK Barbs, that is probably going to get you the best bang for your buck in terms of AP. I, however, do not always have the time to chain. And if I'm hoarding AP, I'm hoarding it to spend all at once. If I'm going to spend a lot of AP at once, it's going to be on Marauders. It's not going to be on KVK Barbs. That's just me, but the honor rewards are pretty easy to come by, whether you chain or not. And so for me, the rewards that I'm getting from Marauders have more value to me than the rewards that I'm getting from KVK Barbs. But if you chain and you chain a lot and you spend a lot of time doing it, your rewards from KVK Barbs will be better. But I don't expect that you're going to be splurging and spending 100,000 AP chaining. That feels totally untenable within a short period of time. So just keep that in mind. So if you're spending a lot of AP at once in Lost Kingdom, what should you do? My vote, go for Marauders. Now, the next question is about Home Kingdom. Since they've upped the level of forts and barbarians in the Home Kingdom, you may be wondering, Shappy, which should I go for? And honestly, it's a tough call. But my friend Dav, who used to be in 3265, great guy, did a whole study on this, so I want to give him a shout out, and I'm going to read out this message he shared. Since the new update, barbarian forts levels have increased in Home Kingdom. This increases the rewards you can get in off-season, but also the difficulty, so too the cost of taking them down. As you want to maximize the action point cost for rewards, you want to keep doing 1+1 people rallies. Keep this in mind, that's really important. First thing to rethink about is the rally pairing and gear, and the unit tier used. Use your best gear. Everyone always seems to forget this. Put good gear on your rallies for barbarian forts. If you don't, the cost of healing is going to be way higher. First tier of Barb Fort Rally will take account of Barb damage and damage reduction, but also high damage and mighty shields, in order to minimize the severely wounded received. This tier includes pairs like Mina CC, Mina Hera, Ho Chu Bing Hera, or in my case, I like Nevsky CC. That's also a pretty good pair. The rest of the usual pairings will be second tier. These are your combat pairs. On the spreadsheet, you'll see the approximate ratio of res for healing and resources gained and the speed ups from rewards. This will help you to find the best way for you to run Barb Forts in the off season, depending upon if you care about resources or speed ups. For example, running a second tier rally on a 1+1 on a level 10 would basically mean you buy speed ups with resources, so there's a trade-off there. The most optimal way would be to run a Barb Fort level 7 with your main and one low march, 10 to 20k T4 from your farm, or someone else throws a couple in there as well. This would increase the damage dealt by your main, 90+%, and so too the number of speed ups gained. Now, if you're wondering what that means, when you rally a barbarian fort, you will get a little notification here saying what percentage of damage you contributed. This is what Dav is talking about. The more percentage you have there, the better the rewards you're going to be getting. Now, it's also fun because if you do rally with your farm also gets books, which you need in order to get your castle leveled up and your account to a better state for that farm. And it would be the same rewards for the Alliance through Alliance Gifts. Alliance Gifts are really important when we're considering whether you should be hitting forts or whether you should be hitting barbarians. Because the number one reason to be running forts is because of the Alliance Gifts. But that's not all. When you run Alliance Forts, and this is incredibly important, you have a chance to get Emergency Action Point Recovery as a reward. Emergency Action Point Recovery, you can hoard. You can save these for when Marauders come around or for when you want to push KVK Barbs, like we just spoke about earlier in the video. You don't get these when you hunt Home Kingdom Barbarians. As a consequence of that, the gain that you get from Home Kingdom Barbarians is instantaneous, whereas forts, you can start to build up a repertoire. So if you're thinking about your daily AP consumption, forts are a no-brainer because you get Emergency Action Point Recovery from here, but you also get it from Alliance chests. So if we come in here, you can also get that action point recovery when you claim all these rewards, which makes it a particularly good option. Now let's go back to what he shared here. For a comparison, he also added barbarians, with you chaining 4 barbs. So for all of you chainers, here's how you go. And he calculated the same AP cost as running a fort. Now what he does call out is speed ups wise, it is way better, but you don't get the same return for the alliance, which means resource wise, generally, it's not actually quite as good because you get a lot of resources from those alliance chests and you get the AP pots. So with all that said, let's take a look at exactly what he shared in terms of numbers. So here's the breakdown. As you can see, again, this is by Dav, huge shout out to him. He went through and did an analysis of what the cost to ratio situation is. And as he called out here, the best resource ratio is going to be a barb fort 1+1 with the first march, your rally march, being T5 and your secondary march being a smaller march. And the reason for this is, again, you get that higher percentage of contribution. So yes, when your R4s do put the markers saying 1+1, they're really just trying to help you, because if you add a bunch of T5 to the same rally, you're just hurting yourself and everyone else already in the rally. I know it's annoying, but give them a chance. Now, what is interesting here is if you are a barb chaining for the same AP cost as running a fort, you get a lot more speed ups. So if you're just looking for speed ups and you're low on speed ups, go hunt barbs. That's going to be the better bang for your buck for you. However, resources wise and AP wise, the forts are going to be better. But you probably don't want to be going ahead and hitting barb forts level 10, 1+1. Now, if everyone is rallying a barb fort level 10, you can jump into that and your cost is going to be somewhat lower. What he calls out here is if it's 1+2, your ratio is going to be better. So you notice 1+1, your ratio sucks, but your ratio is a little bit better. But the trade-off is you will get fewer speed ups. That said, if everyone's running barb fort level 10s, you will get more speed ups than if you do optimize like he suggests here. But if you're doing 1+1s, you typically do want to be going for more resources. So barb fort level 10, tier 5, everyone's running that. And that's going to be the better move. However, the lower the troops there, the more speed ups you're going to be getting for you. What does this mean? If you're low on speed ups and you already have a lot of AP stocked up, go hunt barbarians. Ideally, you chain those barbarians, right? We now have up to level 40, go chain those. However, if you're low on AP or the rest of your alliance is low on AP because you just came out of KVK, or you're low on resources because you just came out of KVK, you should be rallying forts 9 times out of 10 because the rewards that you get are better, and if everyone is rallying forts, you are more likely to be getting this treasure of a purple crystal or blue crystal or whatever it is. And the rewards for this are typically around 13 hours to 16 hours of speed ups, which does make up for what we're talking about here, where when you do go and chain, you get less resources, more speed ups for yourself. So what should you be doing? To be honest, I think that you should be doing forts. And the reasons are A, it lets you cache things for the future. Most of the time, your healing in terms of time is just going to be covered by helps anyways for both scenarios here. And at least if you're anything like me, I already have a ton of speed ups. I need resources more than anything else. I also do like the fact that if you are rallying with a farm, you are actually bringing in resources to that farm as well. So now your main and your farm are getting resources. Whereas if you do just go ahead and chain, sure, you're getting speed ups for your main, but you're only benefiting your main account. Whereas I like that you could double benefit yourself by rallying with a farm. I hope this has been helpful. My goal here was to answer the #1 question, which is what is your best use of AP in Rise of Kingdoms? If you feel that I've done that, be sure to drop a like on the video. And if you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button. That's going to be right over there, bottom right-hand corner, and hit the bell so you get notified when new episodes come out. Thank you all. This video took a ton of time. Shappy out.